So in the last class, we discussed up to the application of for loop and while loop. We discussed what are the application and or which are the scenarios in which we should be applying for loop and which are the scenarios for which we will be applying while loops. We can actually have a nested loop as well. A nested loop is basically a loop having another loop inside its body. So for example, this is an example code snippet for of a nested for loop. Here, in this case, the inner for loop is inside the body of this outer for loop, right? So basically, this inner for loop will be running for each value of this sequence. So in case there are two sequences, the inside sequence will be running all the values of the inside sequence will be getting executed for each values of the first sequence. So let's write a program using nested loop. Okay. So first of all, let's write a program to print the multiplication table of a given number. So if I enter an integer, then I need to, if I provide input say 12, I need to make the multiplication table of 12 here. Okay. But before that, as I have discussed here, there can be, there will be two sequences. So let's, for the time being, let's declare two sequences just to discuss this properly. Let's have a list. For the time being, we haven't discussed what is a list, but just take one example here, which is containing all the integers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just for the time being, let's consider that this is a list. What is list? We'll be discussing later on. And another list, let's say it is containing A, B, C, D, and say E. So these are two lists. First is a list of integers and second is a list of basically strings. Now, what I have said is we can, a nested loop is a loop inside another loop. So let's write for inside a for loop. So for each, basically I want to explore for each item in list 1 or sequence 1, I need to traverse all the items in list 2. So for say item 1, say I1 in L1, if I print the value of I1, as you can guess, it will be printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in different lines, right? Now, what if I want to print for each of this value, I want to print all these values of all these items from list 2 as well. So what we need to do is we need to declare another for loop, say I2 or say J1, or let's just declare J. Let's make it I. So naming, as you can see, naming is up to the programmer. Print J. So this will be printing first 1, then A, B, C, D, E in different lines, then 2, then again A, B, C, D, E, and so on. 1, A, B, C, D, E, 2, A, B, C, D, E, and so on. To make it properly, to have a, to understand what the output is actually looking like, how the output is actually looking like, let's put a slash t here. Remember, slash t is basically the tab special character, basically an escape of t, escape character t, which will be printing 4 characters before printing this. Now, we also need to define another thing. We should not be ending with new lines. Let's print this. Okay. I'm overwriting the default end line, new line as the end to space. Now, you can see 1, then what, A, B, C, D, E, then 2 is also getting printed. But what if I want to print this 2 in the next line? What I can do is I just can define this. Now you can see 1, then A, B, C, D, E, next line 2. Now I will request you to play with this different ways of putting this end, different ways of putting this sep, because now all these seps, I mean, as there is only 2 characters, there is, I mean, hardly any use of sep in this case. But I will request you to play with this end, setting different values and check what will be the output. Now note that this print is basically an empty print. An empty print will be just printing a new line. Got it? So empty print means end is basically set to new line. So if I only provide this, it will be printing a new line. Now what I am doing here, this statement is printing this 1, and as end is set to by default to new line slash n. So after printing 1, the cursor is coming to the next line, right? Then for each item in list 2, each item is traversed, and before printing each item, I am printing a tab. And as you can see, this print statement is terminated with a new line, but I am overwriting that for here. I am changing that default value from new line to space here. So basically, there is a new tab here. Then there is a space because the sep is by default space. If I want to overwrite that as well, this will be giving us first a tab, then the character, then again 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 a tab, then the character. Finish. This is the responsibility up to this. Now I want to print the next value of the first list in the next line. So that's why I have this print statement, which is printing just a new line and taking this cursor from here to here. A way of applying nested loops. Now coming back to our previous program. Write a program to print the multiplication table of a given number. So what I need to do is basically, can someone say how can I do that? Anyone? Come on.
So using only one for loop, I can do this, right? I mean,
using only one for loop, this can also be done.
Right. So
right.
Right.
So basically, it will be printing. So basically, we will be printing I star the value n, right? Right. Now, what if I want to print basically what will be the output of basically, I mean, in case I want to print together with this, I want to print, say, the value of I, and then say star, then say 12, it's not 12, basically n, and then equals to, then this, it will be, I missed a comma here, it will be printing in this way. Okay. But now, what if let's modify this code. So this is just to give you the background of how to get this using a single for loop. Now, what if let's change this program statement? Sorry, let's change this program statement into let's change this program statement. Write a program to print the multiplication table up to a given number from 1. Okay, got it? So basically what I need to do is I need to print the multiplication table of 1 in case the input is 12. I need to print the multiplication table of 1 to up to 12. Of a single value. Now what I need to do is I need to have another for loop. So for this, so for let's consider this as I in say range. So basically now in the first case it was basically given a number, I need to print the multiplication table of only that number. Now what I need to do is I have modified the program statement. Now I want to print the multiplication table from 1 up to that number. So in case it is 12, I need to print the multiplication table of 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 12. So the outer for loop will be running from 1 to n plus 1, isn't it? Because n is 12. Now if I print the value of I here, it will be printing 1 to 12, right? And for each of these values, I want to print the multiplication table, which for the code that I have already written. For j in range 1 comma, what will be the ending parameter here? So I want to print the multiplication table of I. It will be 11, right? Come on. And now what I need to do is I want to print basically the values of what? Values of
J.
Only j. Do I need to print only j or I star j?
I star
because
J.
because I want to have the multiplication table of I.
Yes, sir.
Now if I only execute this, it will be a gibberish because every print statement will be new lines. So in fact this is basically useless. So this print statement will be printing all the values in new lines. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the multiplication table of 1. Then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 20. This is the multiplication table of 2. And then 3, 6, 9 up to 30. This is the multiplication table of 3 and so on. Now let's make it properly decorated. What we need to do is we need to specify end as say space. Now this will be what this will be doing is basically all the output will be in the same line now. 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10, 2 to 20, 3 to 30 and so on. But as I have said earlier in this program, we need to put a new line. So where I need to put this new line is in this place. Now if I execute this, you can see this is the multiplication table of all the values from 1 to 12, which was the input that has been taken from the user, right? So this is an application of a nested for loop. Now what this nested for loop is actually doing in this case, for each value of I, this statement is executing for quite some time. Now, one thing that you can guess is this parameter. We have already seen this range takes only integers. Now, these parameters can also be dependent on this I. That is, this I value, this item the value of this parameter which is being set by this sequence can also be used as the parameters inside this range as well. And the value of I can also be used as the in this case, there are two for loops. This is called outer for loop and this is called inner for loop. The body of the outer for loop is this. The body of the outer for loop consists of 3 lines. 2 lines are this for loop, the inner for loop, and 1 line is this print statement. And this the inner for loop is consisting of only 1 line. Any question? All right. Now let's write a program to print the following pattern. So what I need to do is I need to print a star in the first line, 2 stars in the second line, 3 stars in the third line, 4 star in the fourth line, and 5 star in the fifth line. Okay. Now this is an application or this is a program for which this nested for loop is a necessary tool. Okay. Now let's try to write that. So what the sequence is all about, it is basically for each line it is printing that many line as the line number it is. So first, if we consider this is the line number 1, it is printing 1 star. If this is line number 2, it is printing 2 star, 3 stars, 4 stars, and 5 stars, and so on. Now together with that, let's consider taking an integer as input and make this make this pattern printing based on that. So basically write a program to print the following pattern in case n equals to, or the input equals to, say 5. So take an integer say n as input. Write a program to print the following pattern for say n equals to 5. So if n equals to 5, this should be printed. If n equals to 3, this should be printed. If n equals to 7, there will be 6th and 7th line, which will be containing respectively 6 stars and 7 stars. So now let's try to write that. First of all, we need to take this n as input. Enter an integer. And then say, let's take the input, say 7. Now what we need to do is for I in range 1 comma n plus 1 in steps of 1. That's why I'm excluding third parameter. Now if I print star, it will be basically printing 7 stars in 7 lines, right? Line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now what I want to do is I want to print, these are basically the line numbers. Instead of printing, say, together with printing the star, let's print the value of I. So this is basically the line number. Line number 1, line number 2 up to line number. What I need to do is for each line, I want to print that many stars. So what I need to do is I need to have another for loop for say j in. So now the inner for loop will be basically printing. So I'm just keeping this empty for the time being. So basically the inner for loop will be printing the stars. And how many stars will be printed? Basically that many stars will be printed in which line I am standing in. And the line number is indicated by this I, right? So this will be again a range. It will be starting from 1 and it will be running up to I plus 1. Because in line number 1, so first in the first iteration, the value of I will be 1. As the value of I is 1, I need to print 1 star in that line. So what this is doing, this range will be having 1 comma 2, right? Because the value of I is 1. Now range is 1 comma 2, that means 1, only one value is there. So the value of j will be 1, and this basically this statement will be executed only once and 1 star will be printed. Now again now so this for loop, the inner statement, inner for loops has been executed, the completion of the inner for loop execution has been done. Now now the next value of this sequence will be considered, and the next value is 2. So for 2, if the value of I is 2, that means this range will be from 1 to 3, that is 1 and 2 is there. So this for loop will be executing twice. That's why 2 stars will be printed from here. Then again this inner for loop execution completed. Then the next value of I, which will be 3. For 3, it is basically 1 comma 4. That means 1, 2, 3. That means this statement will be executed 3 times, and 3 star will be printed, and so on. Now it is still not done. Now let's just exclude this. Now if I execute this, all the print statements, all the stars will be printed in different lines, isn't it? Again, what I need to do is I need to specify the end to something. Basically, I need to override the default new line by an empty character. This is an empty character. I haven't specified anything. Now, if I execute this, all the stars, instead of getting printed in different lines, they will be printed in the same line, right? Now what I need to do is I need to put a new line, and the new line, like the previous program, it will be here. Now if I execute, I'm getting the desired output: 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, 6 stars, and 7 stars. If I give say input of say 31, it will be giving us a large output like this. This is an application of nested for loop. This is another application of nested for loop. Write a program to print the following. So if I give the inputs the same 5, it will be printing 1 in the first line, 2, 3 in the second line, 4, 5, 6 in the third line, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the fourth line, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in the fifth line. Now, I hope you'll be able to write that code, but just to show you, I will help you to write that code during the class. So this is basically what I need to do is, so basically let's take a small input. Let's take n equals to 5. Now, if I execute this, as we have already seen, it is printing 1, 2, 3. I mean, basically 1 star, 2 star, 3 star. Sorry, 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, and so on. But instead of printing star, I want to print a value, an incrementing value. So what I need to do is I need to start with a value 1, and I need to print the value here, and I need to increment the value by 1. Now, if I execute this, we are getting this output: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. But note that there is no space. We should be having one space here. So instead of having this end, instead of setting this end to an empty character, we should be providing a space here, and that will be giving us the desired output. Okay, any question up to this? Yes, question.
In nested loop, so can we use one while loop and one for loop as well?
Correct. So inside this, sorry, again my cursor is not working properly. Yeah. So for this, I mean, in this body, we can also have while loops as well. So for example, this is an example of a nested for loop. This is an example of nested while loop. Together with that, a while loop can also be present inside a for loop as well, or the vice versa. So all are nested loops. So we have discussed this, and it is pretty easy to write the similar codes using nested while or mixed nested loops like this or this.